It's time for Cats Talk Wednesday. Small town and big city joined forces. Vinny Hardy of Lynch, Kentucky, and Terry Brown of Louisville, Kentucky, team up to give you free-flowing, laid-back sports talk. Focus on Kentucky Wildcats, as well as pertinent information in the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball.
So here we are on another Wednesday evening, another episode of Cats Talk Wednesday. Terry T.B. Brown in the play-in mode. Wow, unbelievable!
They're in the playoffs officially now. Let's wrap that up, Vinny.
Yeah, they did. LeBron talking about they punched the ticket. They did. Okay, so I can't argue that. My name is Vinny Hardy. Terry Brown is here. We have a guest already. I didn't even have him backstage. You're already in here with us. He writes for a Sea of Blue. Everybody that watched the Mark Pope press conference this past Sunday, he was on there front and center. Got him a question in there on the press conference. A news producer for ABC 36 News, writes for a Sea of Blue and Kentucky Insider. Bringing that Hilltopper Energy TB, Western Kentucky graduate 2021. Chris Beasmore is with us this evening, man. Chris, appreciate you joining us.
Thank you all for having me on the show. I appreciate it a lot, and hopefully it'll be a great show.
Yeah, man, we do what we can, and then we try to have, Terry does a lot of the greatness with his soapboxes and his preaching and his rants and stuff. And then we had great guests like yourself to pick up the slack, and I'm just hanging out in here, seeing what happens, man. We gotta. First of all, Coach, we're gonna talk about the press conference Sunday and Mark Pope coming in and the new hire and all that. But you're a younger guy, so just tell us about yourself. Are you from Kentucky? Born and raised in Kentucky? How'd you come to start covering Kentucky? Just give us a little Chris Beasmore backstory.
Yeah, a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Kentucky. I'm from Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, so about 35 minutes away from Lexington. I went to WKU for broadcasting, graduated from there in 2021, like you all said, 2021. And then after that, I stayed another year in Bowling Green. I worked at a news station there called WNKY News 40. And then basically a year after that, I went to Lexington, got a job here at ABC 36 as a news producer. And then ever since then, I've been helping out with KY Insider and a Sea of Blue, writing articles for them as well.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So you're right there, Central Kentucky, Lawrenceburg, Anderson County proper, right?
Yes, sir. That's right.
Good stuff. I was just up there a couple weeks ago. We went and did the Maker's Mark tour, went to Loretto and all that, and was got us a little cabin rental there in Lawrenceburg. So it was traversing that part of the state a few weeks ago, man. It was fun.
Yeah. God love the good old Lawrenceburg. And whenever, the next day, I went out to, eat at my local Mexican restaurant because I'm still living in my hometown. About to actually move to Lexington, but people were like, I just saw you on TV, yesterday, congrats, and everything. I'm like, wow, people are recognizing me from my hometown. Felt like great pride,
Yeah. And you followed, I think, our Cats Talk Wednesday account, and then I ended up following you on Twitter. And as soon as you popped up, I said, "Oh, there's Chris. I know Chris." So I tweeted at you. I said, "I see you, Chris." So yeah, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So since you're roughly Terry and I, half our age, I mean, it is what it is. TB, your perspective on the hire. I know you probably grew up watching more Calipari. Did you have to Google Mark Pope when you just your perspective on the whole thing, the presser, and everything that's taken place this past week or so?
Well, my dad, or I should say my parents, are a little bit older. They are almost, or they're both 60, so they definitely, or my dad for the most part, he definitely helped me learn, the older players that were there well before Calipari, and of course during the Tubby Smith era. So I already knew about Tubby Smith. I knew about a little bit about Mark Pope. I didn't know much about him. I knew he played at Kentucky. I didn't know he won a title, but I knew he played at Kentucky and was the head coach at the time at BYU. I was actually on a podcast like the day before we hired Mark Pope, and I mentioned his name, and I'm like, I really don't think he should become the next head coach because of his resume at the time, but obviously things have changed and everything, and I wish Mark Pope the best of luck in the future at UK, and hopefully he can bring some titles home as well.
And TB, let's get to your thoughts too, man, because we the same age, and the Mark Pope. I mean, we're with it now, but let's just backtrack to when we first heard the news and
well, a lot of things can be true at the same time, right? Cal leaving, that was a weird Sunday night kind of thing, right? Like, it was Sunday, right? It was a week Sunday, right?
It was a Sunday night, yes, sir.
And so earlier that day, I saw that random account say Cal's going to Arkansas. But we have seen random accounts say random things before. And so my wife and I decided to watch a movie. And because I'm a gentleman, for you single folks out there, when you're with your person, put the phone on Do Not Disturb, right? I just put it to the side. I'm not trying to scroll, all this kind of stuff. So movie ends. It was that romantic comedy with Sydney Sweeney. I forget the name of it. Anybody But You, something like that. Whatever. It's whatever. Not a movie review. Vinny doesn't watch movies, Chris, so I have to fill him in on movies. He doesn't know anything about Marvel or anything like that. So if we're throwing out a movie, Vinny hasn't seen it. So I get to my phone. I'm like, oh, this has got legs. I see legit people saying Cal's gone, right? And then that kind of drug out. And then finally he's gone. Okay. So who's next? And, we all thought you have to offer Hurley at UConn. You have to do that. You figured Scott Drew was on that list as well. When they both said no, it's like, okay, let's regroup. And then pretty soon after that, I mean, it went from like Scott Drew said no at noon, and then by 2:00, it's Mark Pope. And I'm like, okay. And at first I was like, because the Kentucky fan in me, we should be able to go get any coach we want, right? That's my mindset is how awesome would it be to go get UConn's back-to-back coach? How awesome would it be to go get Scott Drew? He's been at Baylor for 20-something years. That would be awesome. So I was looking for that, right? Looking for a big splash, and Mark Pope was not a sexy hire, right? So my concern was because I'm a Louisville person. I'm born and raised in Louisville. It felt to me like when Louisville got Kenny Payne, it felt like a panicked hire. We got someone that won't say no. That's what it felt like to me initially. And I said as much on Twitter. And to my wife, who doesn't care too much about Kentucky sport. But then I start looking at people smarter than I am, talking about what he's about, how he runs his offense. And I know he's going to care about the university and everything like that. I was like, you know what? I can see this working, right? And then Sunday happened. And I was like, okay. And it's building that anticipation. I'm seeing pictures of people outside of Rupp like 4 hours before the doors open. And I'm like, oh, goodness. Like, okay. And then I see people respond to Rupp Arena, respond to people like, we will open up as many sections as people show up. And it's like, oh, okay. And then people are posting videos and pictures from inside Rupp. And I'm like, oh, this is a thing. This is a thing. This is it's an organic kind of thing. And I'm watching, I'm here in Iowa, Chris, just to let you know, long story about that. But anyway, I'm a Kentucky fan. So watching it online, and Pope is just hitting all the right notes. We're not going to run from it. We're going to hang the banners. We're going to hang the SEC banner. Like, this is what we're about. The whole thing about talking about coaches when they get hired, they get a little cheap jersey with their name on it. And he's like, I don't need to do that. I got a jersey with blood, sweat, and tears. I'm like, okay. But even before that, the bus into the Rupp were like 85 different guys that played basketball before us came off. And so for me, that 96 team was my freshman year at Kentucky. That was my first time on campus. I'm seeing those guys on campus. That to me is always going to be my favorite team just because of everything going on. And when those dudes came off the bus, I was like, oh, okay. But then I realized my biggest thing was I was against Mark Pope because Mark Pope is roughly my age, and I don't feel like I'm old enough to coach Kentucky basketball. That was my biggest hang. I was like, wait a minute, the coach should be like an old person. And then my lovely wife was like, you're an old person. So, but I'm on board. You know, I just thought it was time for Cal to go, right? I think we can all say that. And there's excitement back into the basketball program. So it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah, and then speaking a little bit about that, I mean, whenever Calipari decided to leave, I was very upset about that because he's like the only coach I ever knew about, growing up. So I really wanted to run it back for one more year with Coach Calipari. Obviously, that didn't happen. I wish him the best of luck at Arkansas, but definitely not against Kentucky. Hopefully, they lose every game against UK and everything. But yeah, to piggyback a little bit more on that, I was actually on a date like you on Sunday with my girlfriend whenever like the Calipari rumors started to come out that he might be going to Arkansas. Luckily, I got home later that night, so I got to, read about all that. I'm like texting my girlfriend saying Calipari might be leaving, and then he finally does, and then we hired Mark Pope, and then I'm panicking to her and saying like Mark Pope is now the head coach,
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat, except for me. I was still up and had the phone for the initial that Sunday night Cal's going to Arkansas, but I wasn't really on the phone when the Pope, hire was kind of how that kind of sped up and had legs. So I was kind of late to that party like you were to the Cal is leaving, Terry. And I was similar to you. Not saying, I guess shocked and kind of had to wrap your head around it because you did go from Hurley. I was in the, hey, let's wait for Billy Donovan to lose tonight, which I think he probably will. And then let's holler at him face to face and see what he's talking about. Because we at this point, what's a few more days? And because everybody's rushing about the roster. But I'm like, look, at this point, it's not going to kill us to wait a few days. So holler at Billy and then Hurley and then Drew and all that. That's where I was. And then it went from that to Mark Pope so fast. And to me, I mean, of all the coaches with Kentucky connections, he's doing the best. You had Travis Ford and Pelfrey and all those guys. But to me, he still wasn't like setting the world on fire, just being honest. I wasn't. And so you had to kind of wrap your head around it. And historically, guys that do get hired by Kentucky have a little more meat on their resume. Like Tubby Smith, for instance, he had Georgia in the Sweet 16 in 96. They lost to Syracuse on a buzzer beater, or it could have been Georgia in the Elite Eight Final Four instead of Syracuse. Like John Wallace had to hit a shot to knock Tubby out. Pitino had taken Providence and Billy Donovan to the Final Four a couple years before he came to Kentucky. So that's just a little context. So I'm like, yeah, Pope ain't really done that. But the presser, deja vu all over again for guys like Terry and myself, seeing the bus roll in. Pope actually walked out with the trophy as a player because he was the captain. He was the last one off the bus in 96. And then to recreate that, I mean, just the whole deja vu all over again was unreal. And he said it all with his chest. He knows what he's getting into. Terry already hit all the notes that he hit, offensively, defensively. We're here to win banners. He didn't try to choke out expectations. He threw gas on all of them. He said, there's no need of me trying to even temper expectations. I know what the assignment is. I know what it is. So, we're all just now waiting for the staff and the roster to come together. And it just took a little minute to say, okay, all right, Mark. And that wasn't, and Terry, I think I speak for you too. That wasn't shade. That wasn't hating. It just took a little minute to be like, oh, okay. This is the direction they're going, and I'm with it.
So you were there Sunday, right, Chris? You were there. So what was it like being in Rupp? I mean, I've been in Rupp. It's a pretty amazing times, but this was just different because there wasn't a game going on. There wasn't a celebration of a championship. It was just, it just had a different feel to it.
Yeah, it was insane. Like, I've been to a lot of UK basketball games growing up because my dad had season tickets, but just for an introductory press conference, I was not expecting that. But to see so many fans there, hearing them say, "Go Big Blue, blue, white," it was just an insane moment. I wasn't expecting that, but man, it was great. Obviously, I'm still young, only 25, just turned it. Just but just to see that moment was insane, and just to see how UK is reunited again, because there were so many fans divided under John Calipari towards the tail end of his coaching career here. Everybody was so divided about him, but it was good to see, UK and the Big Blue Nation reunite again.
And like I said, we saw you ask your question, so you knew you were going to be there as media. You knew you were credentialed. Did you know going in, I'm going to ask this, or did somebody else ask a question that you were planning on asking? Did you have to go to plan B or C? Tell us how your question strategy was,
So I had a couple questions in mind. Actually, Tristan Ferris, of course, KY Insider, I helped to write for him on his website, but he stole my question. He actually lost the question he had on his mind. He's like, I lost it, and then he remembered it, saying like, what are your expectations for year one? So then I thought about plan B, and then my plan B was, of course, the question is, how will we keep the greatest college tradition alive, or keep it going, So I thought that was a good question to ask because, John Calipari has brought that up, and so many other people, have brought up that same before. And I thought it was a great question to ask, and I thought it was a great answer Mark Pope gave.
Yeah, and every answer. I mean, he handled every single question, man. Just
well, and the thing I think that's unique about Pope is he understands the urgency of what he's doing. And what I mean by that is, Chris, keep in mind that 96 team, we hadn't won since 1978. Like, it's getting close to 20 years without a title. And Pitino had gotten close. And after losing to North Carolina in the 95 Elite Eight with a very talented team, right?
Mm-hmm.
The question was Pitino able to do it, right? So that season, that team was about business. Like, the whole focus was not just getting to the Final Four. We're here to win the whole thing, which I get it is Kentucky's goal every year, or it should be.
Yeah,
but
should be.
When you've been a stretch without it and you have the tools at your disposal to do it, that's a different type of pressure. And so I think, look, Pope's a smart guy, Rhodes Scholar. I used to see him outside of the library, the old library, Vinny, the M.I. King library, all the time. So he's a smart guy. He gets it, and he knows what's to be expected. Because I've seen people like, he shouldn't be, trying to, like you said, Vinny, throwing gasoline on the thing. Like, one, it doesn't matter because it's Kentucky. And two, if you're scared, then don't take the job.
mm-hmm.
Like, if you're coming to, coach Alabama football, don't be talking about we're going to win the SEC West. That ain't why you're here, right? Like, I'm glad that Mark Pope said something about the SEC championship, but that's really not why you're here, right? That's something we get on the way to where we want to go. So don't run from it. Embrace it. I'm all about it, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, he handled it all flawlessly. All the things hit on. I mean, Maui invitationals are back on the table. We hadn't seen those in years. And the emphasis is on hanging the banners, like he said, but you also want to stay around Nashville longer than one day. So it was cool that he kind of put emphasis on that. So like all the notes, all the inflections, he handled that thing about as good as it could be handled. So definitely. So what what you got coming up for KY Insider and a Sea of Blue? You just had a coaching search, no doubt the first one you have been able to cover, and had a couple right in a row. Yeah, Kenny Brooks and now Mark Pope. So
Yeah.
maybe, I mean, are you flipping over to baseball now, or what are you going to be covering here these next few weeks?
The main focus for me is just focusing basketball and of course football on KY Insider and AC of Blue, but obviously I'll help out with anything else with women's basketball, baseball, softball, whatever is needed. I've been talking to the class of 2025 and 2026 recruits recently for basketball just to see what they think about the Mark Pope hire. Obviously, they don't know a lot about Mark Pope since he's been coaching at BYU, not really like a major school. Like, obviously, BYU is still a major school, but not compared to like Kansas, Duke, UK,
Right.
all the other
Right.
schools. But I've been reaching out to them, talking to them to see what their thoughts are about Mark Pope. But yeah, I think just get ready for the summertime with all these football commits also happening. So that'll be also a big thing as well.
Yeah, so a lot of good stuff coming, man. Chris, appreciate you taking the time and being on here. Your first time with us. Looking forward to having you back on again. If
Absolutely.
I'd love to have you back on sometime. Talk some football, and fall's right around the corner, and basketball will be right around the corner, and get your thoughts on all that good stuff, man. So appreciate you taking the time to hop on here. Two dudes you don't even know, and you hopped on here and chopped it up with us. We appreciate it.
Your family now, we're like the Olive Garden. You show up once and your family. So we'll be seeing you on the Twitter streets there, Chris.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate y'all inviting me, and I wish y'all the best of luck in the future, and hopefully everything continues to go well with y'all and UK.
Absolutely.
It, Chris. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much, man.
Peace out, y'all.
All right. Chris Beasmore, Sea of Blue, KY Insider, young fellow, Western Kentucky grad. Got our next guest in the green room, TB.
Yeah, well, Mama B's got one of her degrees from Western.
Oh, okay.
So she's a Hilltop. Yeah, just real quick. She's got Memphis State, Western, Louisville. So she is. She got more degrees than her mama. Speaking of Mama B, our next guest. Look, man, I say this all the time, and it's absolutely true. I just talked to my mom the other day, and I said we're going to have our next guest on. I've been able to do a lot of stuff. You see all this stuff when it comes to Kentucky sports. The one thing she tells all her beauty shop buddies is not that Terry's got his own show and does this, that, and the other, that he knows our next guest, Kendrick Haskins.
Right.
Kendrick Haskins is Mama B's favorite sportscaster. And I'm like, well, I do sports too. She's like, well, this ain't got nothing to do with you.
That don't matter.
Yeah.
That's what I say. So, like I say every time we come on, not Kendrick Perkins, not Kendrick Lamar, not Howie Kendrick, not Negro League Baseball Museum President Bob Kendrick. It's our boy, like you said, Kendrick Haskins, Mama B's boy.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, it's an honor to be Mama B's boy.
That's over everything right there, ain't it,
yeah, man.
Hey, that's the greatest honor there is.
But thank you so much for joining us, Kendrick. It's always good, man. A lot of stuff going on in the Commonwealth. New coaches and football people coming and going. A lot of stuff going on, man.
Man, we haven't come up for air since about February. It's been insane. I mean, it's bad enough to have one coaching search because that's annoying enough, but to have two, really three, yeah, I'm over coaching searches. I'm glad every school in the Commonwealth pretty much has a new basketball coach. It's over, said, and done, and we can move on. No more sources of I know somebody who knows somebody when they've never been to a press conference.
Yeah. Oh, I'm tired. I'm tired of sources.
Yeah.
Everybody's got sources. I'm like, how are you going to have more sources than people, working at UK? This is crazy. This is crazy, man.
Right. There's a reason why we don't report everything we hear.
Yeah, because a lot of what you hear is nonsense. So let's give a little bit of love to little brother here. And they've got a new men's basketball coach. We kind of knew that the Kenny Payne thing wasn't going how everybody kind of thought from the beginning. So Louisville's got a new coach. They seem to be happy with him. He seems to be hitting the right notes, which is a theme from some of these coaches. He seems to be saying and doing the right kind of things.
Yeah, he's bringing energy, and I love Kenny Payne. I always have love for KP, but the energy level between the two is night and day. Kenny was really laid back, kind of slow in his speech, and kind of humdrum with everything. Where Pat Kelsey is a fireball. And first time I saw him at the press conference, I was like, this dude, if he's on your team, you're gonna love him, and if you're playing against him, you're gonna hate him. So like, I fully anticipate that Big Blue's going to hate Pat Kelsey. The whole ACC is probably going to hate Pat Kelsey, but he's going to be Louisville's, and Louisville's going to love him. And he's already hitting the ground running. He's out there doing his thing. So he's everywhere around town. So you're liable to run into him anywhere.
He needs to get one of them Indies plates. What he needs.
He's been to Indies.
Has he been there? Oh, okay.
I went Saturday after the spring game, TB. I meant to text you. I forgot. But yeah, we hit that after the spring game in Lexington. But going back to KP real quick, look, they know KP well. He played there. He's a card. So he's laid back. He's chill. He's from the SIP. He talks slow. They knew that before they hired him. He wasn't about to be the micro machine man as soon as he took the job and started talking fast and having. I mean,
Well, for the fans though, they didn't really know that because we really hadn't heard KP talk. It's not like he's in a bunch of press conferences and stuff like that. Us around him, yeah, we know how KP's mentality was. But for the fan base, they really probably because when I'm running a UK press conference soundbite on the news. And it's not Calipari. The U of L fans not paying attention to who it is, and so so they hadn't really heard from KP since he left Louisville.
Yeah, towards the end, y'all start running quite a few non-Cal pressers though, just to be real. He kind of shrugged that off.
Hey, and you know what?
I'm just saying.
I was to the point that like if he's not gonna do them, then I'm not gonna feel obligated to run them. So I mean, I'd run them if I needed to, but like I didn't feel obligated. If a head coach doesn't show up for his head coaching responsibility, I don't care who it is. I don't feel obligated to.
I feel you. Yeah, that's less work for you.
So to piggyback on that, though, we knew that the Kenny Payne era wasn't going to make it past February of this year, right? We kind of knew that. I think a few of us were surprised, especially after Mitch and Cal sat down for that interview. We were just talking earlier, like it was a little shocking that Sunday that a random person saying Cal to Arkansas, and then you go do something else and come back, and it's like, oh, this is a thing.
Right.
This was pretty crazy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think that was everybody's reaction. Like exactly like you said, when they had to sit down together, I figured, okay, we're cool for another year. And then, like you said, just some random dude said something. It was probably about 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday. I saw it. And I was like, no, this is just some more Twitter nonsense. And I go on about my day, and I just happened to open up Twitter later that night. I was like, oh, this is gaining steam. And so I was off. So I had to text Dusty and be like, hey, man, this is like for real. We need to really look into this. And like next thing you know, Cal's on his way to Fayetteville. Woo, Big Soupy. I was so upset he didn't do that in the press conference.
Yeah, at least, just as rough as it would have been, at least make an attempt.
Right. I did. Did you see that there was video of them trying to teach him how to do it, and it just wasn't happening? I'm like, it's not that hard, Cal.
Yeah. Because I think they'd embraced it. If you go to a foreign country, you try to speak the language, they laugh at your accent and they laugh how you botch, very simple phrases. But they appreciate the effort. They appreciate the effort.
Arkansas is different. So where are you? Yeah, where are you with the Cal? Like my whole thing was that when the game was over against Oakland, I think I tweeted and I said to my wife, I was like, well, he can't come back. Like the pressure for next year is going to be ridiculous. Like he can't come back. And then he sat down but then you take a step back. It's like, it was time for this to like a breakup or a divorce. Hey, ain't nobody's fault. It just ain't happening.
It ran
let's just go our separate ways. Yeah, and I think that's probably the best way to sum up the whole thing on Cal. Like, what I don't like seeing, and this is part of that breakup too, is, you break up with your girl and your boy is like, oh, she was bad for you anyway. I knew she was trouble. Like, we ain't got to do that, right? We ain't got to talk about like we ain't had no good times and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm like, we ain't got
to go to Cancun together.
Yeah, like we ain't got to do all like that. But there's a lot of that moving forward. Now, you were in Rupp Arena on Sunday. Mm-hmm. What was that like? Kind of watching the place fill up for a press conference.
Man, that was the wildest thing I've ever seen. Because we got there, I got there. See, the press conference was what 4:30, so we got there at like 3. Yeah. And we kind of mulling around. I ran into Matt Jones, and we talking. He was like, "How many you think is going to be here?" And I looked around. I was like, "Probably be about half full." I say probably about 8,000-9,000. Taking into account they didn't have the lower bleachers down there. And then as it kept building, and I was like, they're going to fill this place up. Because at first they were just putting everybody on one side of the arena where, was facing the podium. Then all of a sudden I started seeing filling in the other side where they can't see anything. And then the next thing I'm like, they filled this place up. This is nuts. Especially when you look at the backlash that happened initially when he was hired. I was like, boy, that was a 180 quick.
Well, again, I think this was kind of universal. We went from, we're going to give the bank to Dan Hurley. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. He says no. Then Scott Drew kind of sort of says no. And for most of us, it was like, we got to Pope awful quick.
Yeah.
And my concern was, it felt like a Kenny Payne thing. You got somebody you're pretty sure won't say no, but does he have the resume to do this job?
Well, the good thing they have going is that he actually has a resume.
Right. That's the difference. Right. Absolutely. So I've come around on Coach Pope. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's my whole thing.
I mean, because I've watched BYU a couple times this season, just coming home late from work one night and turn on the TV and BYU's on. And I mean, they play a fun brand of basketball. And the funny thing is, so my girlfriend is a diehard Kentucky fan. So she was out on Cal after last year. And so I had to talk her off the ledge to give him another year for this past season.
Right.
And she literally brought up Pope during the season.
Look at her, boy.
Hey, she watches more sports than I do. It's crazy. And so,
and this is the Wave sports director. I forgot to mention the info. But
yeah. He's not just a random person that Mama B's favorite. She watches Wave 3 News. So there you go.
and your girl watches more than you, Mr. Wade, sports director. Okay.
Man, look, I'll come home sometimes you get sportsed out. Like I'm tired of I'm watching something else. It's like let's watch Yellowstone or something. And I'll come home and she's got it on a random game. She might be watching Mississippi State and South Carolina or something. Like random SEC games and even Kentucky fans ain't watching that game. And then she wasn't even into the NBA until me and her started dating. I'll come home and she'll have on a Kings. She decided she's a Kings fan this season because of Monk and Fox. And so I'll come home and later if it's not too late, because she don't stay up too late. But if the Kings are playing an early game, I got league pass because of her.
They'll make you do it, won't they?
Man,
they'll make you do it, man.
We went up to the Kings game when they played the Pacers. We went up there because my boy, remember Kyle Draper, that used to be at WHAS. He's one of the play-by-play guys for the Kings, and so he was working that game. So we went up there and hollered at him, and she was in it. So, but going away from but we've kind of been on Mark Pope around here for a little bit.
I've been telling people, my biggest thing is, I think you comment on this Facebook post, Kendrick. My whole issue was we the same age, and I'm not old enough to be coaching at the University of Kentucky. It made me feel a certain way, like the same way when Reed Sheppard came out. I actually had a class with Jeff Sheppard. I'm like, I don't feel old enough to do it. And then my wife was like, your oldest is going to be in college next year. She's playing lacrosse up at Aurora University next year. So I got a student athlete in the family. I'm excited about that. So I don't feel that old, but everybody that I went to school with is old. So here we are.
Hey, that's one of the things about this job that ages you, because like I haven't been blessed with kids, but my friends' kids are coming. Like JJ Trainer, there was at U of L. I grew up with his daddy. I've known Jason since we was 10 years old.
and then you look around and everything. So the Kentucky Louisville basketball rivalry is what it is, but this one's going to feel weird because we don't know what to expect from either coach, really.
Right, and there's not going to be that built-in animosity between the two coaches, like Cal and Rick, and it kind of it was weird with Cal and KP, and so this is like the next generation of the weirdness. Where's it going to be? I do think though, the two of their personalities, I think they have the kind of personalities that will buy into the rivalry. I mean, Mark Pope's already been a part of it anyway, and then Kelsey's crazy.
Yes,
and so
he getting IVs on how to hate Kentucky. He's learning and he's soaking it up. So
he'll buy into it. Yeah,
for sure. So and it's just a whole new different dynamic. First year coaches for both. You had Joby and Denny for all these years. Then Rick comes back to Louisville against Tubby and against Cal, and he got his couple wins against Gillespie, and so then the Padgett, all the stuff post Rick for them, Mac and Padgett and all that. It's just so now a clean slate for both is really, y'all right. It's a new dynamic for the rivalry.
I think I saw some stat like this is the first time that both teams, when they play each other, that neither coach has won a national championship as a coach in like 90 years or something crazy like
that. Because Corey Price put it out. This is the first time that they'll both have brand new coaches since the 1923-24 season. So
that was about right in the time where the last time won the championship coach. Right, a lot of that's got to do with Denny being at Louisville so long. That's a big part of it.
That's true. That's true.
Because he retired. 2000 was his last year, right?
I believe so. Because it all runs together after so long. But
I think it was 2000. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, most of our lives, there's only been two coaches at U of L, Rick and Denny, and then it's been a revolving door for the last 5, 6, 7 years now.
Yeah.
I had to clown you though Sunday because I was messing with you because
that was funny.
State your name and affiliation. Everybody, Chris Beasmore, Steel Blue, blah 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 blah, and Kendrick Haskins said, "Y'all just gonna give me this mic. I'm gonna ask my question. You y'all ain't getting name. Y'all ain't getting Wade Sport. Y'all ain't getting nothing. You're gonna ask me my question, and I'm gonna get this mic back." I said, "Okay, Kendrick."
It was funny. It was funny because you're sitting there, and so you raise your hand to get the mic, and then it was 4 or 5 people went past before I finally got my turn, and and then. So it's it's Slack, Susan Lax. She's one telling them where to go, and she says right here, and she's standing over here, so I couldn't really see her. She was pointing to me. I knew it was my turn was coming up, but I couldn't tell for sure. And then I turned around and looked at her, and then Mark's looking right at me, and I was just like, well, here we go. And name and affiliate, and that all went out the out the window. I was like, let's just get this question.
you know who this is?
That's right.
It's funny because I've known TD and DA for years anyway. Tony Duck and Derek Anderson, I've known them for years anyway. And so I feel like abstractly I already knew Mark anyway. I may have met him once somewhere. And so I was like, we already know each other. I'd seen him before. I hadn't seen Pat Kelsey before. So I didn't mess it up.
That's all right. Hey, man, real quick, are you as frustrated with our Cowboys and free agency as I am? TB would say I've been fussing about every week, because we ain't done nothing. And
man, look, They are so frustrating, and I don't know what they, because like I've justified it to myself not going after Derrick Henry just because you can go in the draft, get a running back, and it'll be cheaper, and you can build in other positions because they need help in just about every area, including quarterback. To be honest with you,
left tackle, linebacker,
linebackers, and I mean. They still don't know what they're doing with the secondary. It's the only one we know for sure is coming back is Diggs, and what's he gonna be? And so, they're so frustrating because they'll say one thing, do the complete opposite, and then they're America's team. So you turn on Get Up, and all they talk about on Get Up is the Cowboys and the Jets.
Did you see that thing about awful announcing that talked about how often like the Cowboys get mentioned, and it's outsized. They are America's team.
They'll pose a question on Monday, and will still ask that same question on Friday. It cracked me up. The Monday after the first weekend of the NCAA tournament, 90% of the show was the NFL draft. I'm like, come on, bro. Ain't nobody checking for the draft right now. I get you trying to be different, but come on, man.
And
of course, most of it, what are the Jets? Is Greeny trying to convince everybody on the show that the Jets are going to the Super Bowl, and then they talk about Dallas because they know they'll get hits.
Right. And that's the show. That's the show. That's the show for the week.
Just come up with some random Dak Prescott thing and then just go from there.
Oh, hot button. They know it.
And then TV up there, and then 49ers winning, and every time 49ers win, I got to open up social media and there's TV in a Jerry Rice jersey.
Now I did switch it up. I did get a Jair Brown jersey because I've been waiting for a Brown to get on the 49ers roster. I missed out when there was Terrell Brown because I was like, oh, T Brown, I'm gonna get this, but that's where I was going through my divorce and I was living at my mama's house and I didn't want to get. I couldn't bring nothing fancy in.
Wait, the way your account was set up.
The way it's set up. Mama B was not looking forward to any packages being delivered on the front porch, so I had to live right. But I got a Brown jersey.
You got a Brown. See, if there's a Haskins on the team, they most likely my cousin anyway.
Right.
Well, I remember, Vinny, when the Cowboys got Greg Hardy, and you was like all on board, and then all the stuff came out, and you were like, I don't know about that.
Hey, man, we just had to walk back pedal, man.
I did. Because you remember Ray Buchanan played for played at U of L, played for. My cousin was married to him for years, and so I was that close to pulling the trigger on a Buchanan jersey, and they didn't work. They didn't make it, but me still cool with Ray, but
ain't cool enough to buy your jersey though.
That'd be a little bit awkward.
and everybody thought I was the biggest Tim Brown fan, and I got no problem with Tim Brown, but if I could go buy a T Brown without customizing it, I'm gonna go get a T Brown without customizing it. That's why I got 4 Tim Brown jerseys. So there you go.
That's it.
That's fantastic.
So,
one jersey I got is back there. That's prime.
I got you. So I want to get your thought, Kendrick, on like the women's tournament and this kind of, we're at the precipice of women's basketball really being a thing. I mean, I'm here in Iowa, and I'll just tell you, it's a huge thing. Like, it is a huge, huge thing. Right. My wife is upstairs. I have to remind everybody that Caitlin Clark is from West Des Moines, Iowa, the same suburb that my wife is from. So I have to put that out there. She's letting everybody know she's also from West Des Moines. But yeah, absolutely. Hey, the other day I drove by her high school, and I need to take a picture. It's a huge ass sign. I'm sorry, Vinny, I wasn't supposed to use profanity, but it's a huge sign that says, "This is where Caitlin Clark went." I'm like, I got no problem with it because I know how Louisvillians, I know how we embrace Ali, right? So, but women's
Caitlin's Clark, West Des Moines.
That's right. She has to say it, when she gets introduced. But women's basketball, it seems like it's been underserved for so many years, but now we're fully embracing it. We're getting, I know Caitlin Clark's kind of moving the needle, but the draft last night was, or Monday night, was fantastic. Yeah. Monday night. Like, your thoughts on women's basketball. I know the Louisville's women's team has been, at the peak and everything like that. It seems like it's kind of turned a corner.
It has turned a corner, and it's good to see. It's great to see these young ladies finally getting the attention they deserve. I mean, they're great basketball players. I mean, Caitlin Clark is so fun to watch. She's it's like watching Steph Curry. And the thing that drives you crazy as a defender, because I remember watching them, because I was at the game when they played Louisville last year in the tournament, and like you can see in her eyes when she's going to put the ball up. You can just tell. And so, but it's nothing you can do about it. And like, if I'm seeing it, I know Jeff Walls is seeing it. I know the defenders are seeing it. It's nothing you can do. And then she perfected that three where she's fading left. Now she's right-handed, so you want to force her left. But if you force her left, she's gonna pull up with that three fading left and gonna hit it from nowhere, from anywhere on the floor. So what do? She's so perplexing to guard. Then you throw in there how underrated her passing is. Her arc is so much like Steph Curry's, because Steph Curry is an underrated passer too. His handle is right up there with AI, but nobody ever talks about that. And Caitlin Clark's going to be up there too. And she does turn the ball over a lot. I got in an argument with some guy on Facebook. Was like, I'm like, dude, she averages 5 turnovers a game. That's a lot. But you can have a flaw in your game. It's not okay. We don't have to. I mean, you don't have to go to church over that. But there's so much. Then you watch a team like South Carolina, who can just they're so good defensively, and they can score from all 5 positions. And then watching LSU play, and then the parity is coming in women's college basketball too. That's the thing that's really been missing. The thing that's kind of brought it over the hump, because like when UConn was dominating, it really wasn't fun. But now, because they were basically a dream team out there, and like you watch the commentators, almost all the commentators are from former UConn players, and because that's where they all went. And so now the talent is more evenly distributed. I mean, back in the day, Caitlin Clark, Haley Van Lith, and Angel Reese all would have been on UConn.
It was a big deal for Caitlin to go to Iowa. Like, she wanted to go to UConn and I forget the other place. Like, it was a big sell to get her to stay home. That was crazy. But you talk about the former UConn people. That's what killed me on the Final Four game with the moving screen. I thought it was a moving screen, but whatever. But controversial call against UConn. Let's go to Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi and get their point of view. And I'm like, people, I tweeted out, people like, well, I'm like, look, man, if it's a close call and I'm on ESPN and it's against Kentucky, I'm gonna be a little salty, right, man. I'm just saying, why are we going to this in a situation like this?
That's true.
And when it initially happened, I was like, man, that's a terrible call. But then after I watched the replay, I was like, oh yeah, she was a pulling guard on that play.
Yeah, she was.
and like you and I went back and forth, Kendrick. Gabby Marshall is an underrated defender.
Yes,
she is really, really good. So a lot, it's always going to be Caitlin Clark. But Iowa's got some pretty good teams.
Yeah, that was the thing that annoyed me most about the Iowa coverage, because they were like, oh, she's doing it all by herself. I'm like, no, she's not. Gabby Martin's an outstanding defender. Obviously, she had her teammate wasn't. They went to they got drafted, and then
Kate Martin. Yeah,
Kate Martin got drafted, and then the big girl in the middle. I mean,
Hannah Stokey.
She's a future WNBA player. And so she wasn't by herself.
Well, and that's what I've tried to tell people is, yes, Caitlin Clark may be the best to come through Iowa, but they've had like Megan Gustafson. Like, they've had some All-American, All-Big Ten, WNBA caliber players. She didn't exactly put Iowa women's hoops on the map. They were drawing crowds even before she came.
Okay.
So
you answered my question. I was wondering, and look, Lisa Bluter been there 40 years. She had to do something to stay for 40 years. It ain't like she was terrible for 36 years. You get Caitlin Clark, and now they just kept her for no reason these previous 3 decades.
Like it's the first time they ever made the tournament.
Well, Lisa, you've been sucking for 35 years, but you got Caitlin now, so we'll keep you.
I don't know what it is in the water in Iowa City, but Bluter's been there 25 years. Ferentz has been there 25 years. Like the tennis coach has been there 20 years. Like if you come to Iowa to coach, you're gonna stay.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but they've all been here like double-digit years. That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
They'll never get a new coach. No coaching searches in Iowa, man.
Hey man, because it's like Ferentz being there is like a villain oversized upset. But the way they offense, I mean, they were an ATM for me last season in Iowa football. I bet the under every game and hit every game.
Yeah, what was it? They were the first team to get 10 wins in a college football season and average like less than 11 points a game since like 1924. Like, I don't even know who it was, but it's like, not great.
Their bowl game, the over-under was 30, and they lost 27-0.
But they got a new offensive coordinator, so things will turn around, hopefully, maybe.
Gotta go up. It can only
go up. It can't get much worse.
I think the coordinator, where he came from, the offense wasn't that much better than
that's why he went to Iowa. He know he got job security.
Oh, yeah, he got job security.
That's right.
He's going nowhere.
I'm gonna be here 30 years.
Oh yeah, he get that retirement plan.
But
TB,
Kendrick,
man, TB, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
With Caitlin going to Indiana, number one is Iowa. The whole state of Iowa gonna be Indiana Fever fans, and number two, Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. That's a nice little duo for up and coming years for this team. This Fever might be contending pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that. Was the best part of the Final Four coverage was Aaliyah Boston, who was really good on camera. But the two of them, that could be, for lack of a better phrase, like a Stockton and Malone kind of situation. The two of them kind of joined at the hip, because you look at what Caitlin did with Monica Cesano last year. Like, right. Cesano didn't even dribble the ball until they got to the Final Four last year. I don't know if you remember that. Like, that was a whole big thing. Like, she took 2 dribbles the whole tournament, and they played for a national championship, which is just running the floor hard, and getting the ball up. So it's going to be interesting to see. Of course, there's going to be a learning curve, right?
Yeah, right. No doubt.
Because it's crazy, because their draft is a week after the tournament, and then like their season's like in a month.
Middle of next month they play. Yeah,
that's crazy. So of course there's going to be a learning curve, and of course the one thing about Kayla is she's been playing 40 minutes a game. Like, she don't come out.
Right.
And so you get, and now she's doing all the stuff you do as a number 1 pick and all this stuff. Like, you got to wonder by the time the basketball starts.
Training camp coming up, yeah.
I need some load management.
Right.
She's probably not going to play too much in the preseason and through training camp. I mean, how much training camp does she need? I mean, I would imagine that she's still probably in good shape from the season.
Right. Right.
Too much of her in their I don't know how long the WNBA preseason is, but I wouldn't imagine you're going to see her in too many games. But I was talking to Andrew Chernoff. He used to work at WLKY. He works up in Indy now. And he was saying that I was talking to him before the draft, and he was saying that Dick's Sporting Goods already had a ton of Caitlin Clark jerseys even before draft night. They just had them sitting there just waiting on it. And so they've already sold a ton of Caitlin Clark jerseys up in Indy.
Fanatics sold out.
Yeah.
It's a thing. And, I think women's basketball's hit the point. Now we got the old heads hating on the young people. That's always part of it, right? I think we've moved on from the Rebecca Lobo and Cynthia Cooper, like the trailblazers, right? The trail has been blazed. Mm-hmm. Now we can have some old-fashioned hating. I ain't mad at Diana Taurasi for hating. Like,
that's what she does.
You're supposed to hate. Like, I turn on Inside the NBA on TNT. All they do is hate. So women's basketball reached that point where we can just hate on them. We ain't gotta build the game. We can hate, and I love it. That's what makes it great.
And Diana Taurasi's here for all the smoke. Diana Taurasi's been talking trash since the moment she stepped on the floor anyway.
Exactly. So I'm here for it. So I just think we're at that point where we're going to see women's basketball really make that leap.
Oh yeah, it's good. As bad as it sounds, it's good to hear the dumb comments that come from people because that's what sports is. That's what sports talk is. It's not we're not tiptoeing around women's sports, women's basketball anymore. You've got dumb comments because that's part of it. And comparing and saying that, oh, this is the GOAT and that's not a GOAT. That's never really been a part of the conversation when it came to women's basketball, and now it is, and that means that it's on the same level now. It's getting towards the same level as men's basketball, and it's crazy to say dumb comments are part of a part of the growth of the game. But it's true.
Bad comments, ridiculous arguments. Well, okay, all right. I don't need to break this down, but it's all that stuff. It's part of it. Where you finally reach that, hey, you've arrived.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I was laughing because I saw Pablo Torre on there, and he had a good comment about how if you've been a lifelong WNBA and women's basketball fan in general, you've been praying for attention, been pleading for attention. Now you're getting attention, and you're getting all the dumb comments and the new people on the new friends and all this stuff who really don't know much, but all of a sudden they're an authority. It's got to be driving you crazy. It's got to drive you crazy if you're a lifelong fan.
I don't watch every single game like religiously, but look, we all are old enough to remember when the league started. I'm a Houston Rockets fan. I immediately jumped on board with the Houston Comets, right. And Cynthia Cooper, Swoops, Tina Thompson. They won the first 4 chips, and I was like, but I was all Houston. I'm like, okay, Rockets, Comets, I'm cool. And they been these many years without even having a team. After the start they had, I still can't believe they haven't been brought back, and surprised they went away to begin with. So, but now, like you said, it's at a point now where it's ready to kind of launch again, and
they need to expand.
New eyes and stuff. Yeah.
It's time to expand because it's crazy how many first round picks will get cut.
Yeah,
they get cut all the time, and like I'm looking around like, well, Dana Evans from Louisville, she originally got cut. Now she's been a starter up in Chicago since she got cut by Dallas, I believe, and she's been starting in Chicago. Emily Inksler, she's had to bounce around, and she's been productive everywhere she's been, but she's bounced around because of the league. They only have so much roster size, and it's only so many teams. It's time to expand. It's good to see that Golden State invested and put a team there. I think Louisville would be a great place to have a WNBA team, and because make it Kentucky, name the team the Kentucky, whatever Kentucky Colonels, whatever you want to name them. That way, make it the state's team. Because now, especially now with UK women's basketball, feels like they're about to make a jump. You're gonna have you're gonna really grow women's basketball in this state. And I think if you had a WNBA team in the summer, when the really only thing going on around here is soccer and baseball. In basketball country, you're gonna get some crowds there.
WNBA to Lou. WNBA to Lou. Okay.
Well, and I think what gets underrated about the Commonwealth is the decision to be good at volleyball.
Right.
Right. Kentucky won a championship. Louisville played for one. Western is always making a deep run.
And we've been churning out D1 volleyball players for years.
Yeah.
And just now, finally, the major schools invested in it, but there's been D1 players all over the country from Louisville for years, from Kentucky for years. Kiva is one of the biggest volleyball organizations in the country, and there's tournaments here all the time. So it's good to see that the state schools are finally investing in it.
As a girl dad whose girls do sports, I'm all about it, man. I am all about it.
It's fun. It's fine. It's good to finally see them getting their due. I do think part of it, let's be honest, part of it is look, ladies, y'all gotta support each other because it's more women in the world than men. So you kind of support them a little bit better yourself. And so
you got to go to the games, right? You got to go to the games. You got to watch. You got to buy the merchandise. Yeah. You got to find your niche, right? That's how every sports league has done it, right? Baseball lucked into Babe Ruth, basically. Like, we're going to hitch our wagon to that. Mm-hmm. In NFL, I was telling my wife, like, the NFL was number one. The NFL, it fits TV better than any sport. Football just works. Yeah, there's breaks in the action. it just works. But part of the NFL was NFL Field, right? We all remember John, the frozen tundra, and it just built up this whole thing. When you're like, well, and then you look at these old NFL games, and it's like the Packers beat the Lions 13-9. That's not a great football game, but they give you these angles, and you got steam coming off their head and all this kind of stuff. And the NBA is fantastic. I'm that old, right? Where it was like, okay, they're moving off. Right. They're moving off the tape delay, but look at what these guys are doing, right? So every league, you got to find. I don't know what the NHL does because I don't do hockey, but I think that the women's leagues can find that niche, particularly in the summer when you've got baseball and all 180 of their games. Yeah. Find their niche.
Yeah, I mean, because what hockey does really is they sell their playoffs because their playoffs are as exciting as they're probably the most exciting playoffs in all of professional sports. To be perfectly honest. I went to a Rockies game, not the year they won it, but the year before they won it. I went to a playoff game out there because I just happened to be in Denver anyway, and it was wild. I mean, it was wild. It was so much fun, and we've gone to a couple of games down in Nashville with the Predators, and it's so much. Both times we've gone down there, they've lost, but you can't tell from fans they having a blast.
Yeah, but the number one seed don't even win all the time.
Nine times out of 10, right?
Like you might get a 7 seed versus 6 seed in the Stanley Cup Finals. It doesn't make any difference.
Yeah,
That's great.
Home ice doesn't mean anything in the NHL.
It's ridiculous.
You get the hot goalie at the right time. The hot goalie. You ride that wave, man.
Yeah,
man,
Kendrick, wow, man.
We can't thank you enough for gracing us with your presence, man. We try not to bother you, but always love when we get to have you on and chop it up, man.
It's an honor to be on here, and it's an honor to be Mama B's boy.
Yes, sir.
Well, I remember the first time we were on that round of shots thing. If you remember, Kendrick, we were talking before the show, Vinny. Kendrick's like, well, Kevin said, who you having on Cat Talk? I was like, oh, we got this. And Kendrick's like, you gonna have me on? And I'd honestly thought we'd had you on before. Be like, no. I was like, well, we got to rectify that. And then I got Mama B in my ear. Well, you got to have Kendrick. I was like, okay, we're gonna do it. So we appreciate you coming. Shit, that picture we took of that Louisville, Kentucky game, she still shows people like, this is my boy with Kendrick. Like, yes, I know Kendrick. Yes, ma'am. Tell my boy Kendrick I said hi. Yes, ma'am. I will.
Give Mama B a big hug for me.
Absolutely, man. We always appreciate you, Kendrick.
No problem. Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, appreciate you on Wave. You got to believe in ACC. I'm gonna have to have you on that as well. So, man, you just appreciate everything you're doing, man.
Oh yeah, man. Believe in the ACC is so much fun. Having Charlie Ward on there, it's wild being on a podcast with Heisman Trophy winning Charlie Ward. Like growing up in high school, and when you're in high school and you're watching somebody in college football, it doesn't dawn on you that they're not that much older than you.
The gap ain't that wide. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so like having him been like he was a guy that was my favorite player watching college football as a kid, was watching Charlie Ward at Florida State, and then like to be doing a podcast with him, and now we've been doing a podcast now about 4 or 5 years now. It's wild. Yeah. And like the crazy thing was I ran into him in person for the first time since we were doing the podcast down at the ACC Championship. First time I'd seen him in person. I'd met him like years ago when I was an intern, and Allen Houston had a golf tournament at Shawnee Golf Course, and I was interning at WLKY at the time, and we went there to cover it. And I met Charlie then, but that don't count. And so I met him at the ACC. We ran into each other. It was so fun. I met his wife, his lovely wife, and everything. And like Charlie's just as good as gold. He's one of my favorite people I've ever met.
Same thing for me with Tony Delco on Believe in Kentucky. Like you said, he's a senior at Kentucky. I'm a senior in high school, so it ain't. I'm like, it's not that big of a gap.
5 years.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah.
He had me laughing, so we interviewed him after the press conference real quick. I was like, Tony, when you pulled into the press conference on the bus and you looked up and you saw all these people, like, what's the first thing that went through your mind? He's like, man, not falling down off the bus when going down the steps, like taking one step at a time.
You got to keep it simple.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, man, I just turned 50, and he's like, and then down on me, he's like, man, I turned 50 next year. It's
Yeah, that's what my wife said when I was like, Mark Pope ain't old enough, and she's like, you almost 50. I was like, what the hell?
Hey, calm down. Chill out.
You ain't gonna hit me like that.
Keep your reality to yourself.
Oh man. Can't thank you enough, Kendrick, man.
Hey
Always
man,
appreciate
I'll
you,
come on anytime y'all ask.
Yes,
All right, we
man.
appreciate it, Kendrick. Take care, man.
All right, man, y'all too.
Kendrick Haskins. Coming here dropping knowledge, sharing the Cowboys pain with me. He was at the presser for that. And look, it's so crazy, man. But all these media folks that we know, a lot of them, and everybody never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like this.
I'll be right back, Vinny.
Okay.
The dog is being ridiculous. I'll be right back.
It's Sammy, as y'all know that watch and listen a lot. Terry's dog. He's not even a dog person, but Sammy has Terry wrapped around his paws. Saw y'all's comments too. We had both guests haven't been able to pop up a lot of the comments, so I'm gonna backtrack while Terry's on here. Michelle was in with the first one almost before we started, saying that she is back in Wisconsin for the summer, adjusting my time and freezing. Let's go, Cats. So hopefully it warms up there in Wisconsin for you and it's not as big of a temperature adjustment. The time adjustment is what it is, but glad you're back in Wisconsin. And I always appreciate you, Michelle, for tuning in wherever you are. I'll pop this one back up from David Hibbert when Terry comes back as well. I was in the King Library when it was new, TBA. See, that's life comes at us fast, David. We know exactly what you're saying. David was in the library when it was new. Appreciate you, David, jumping in here with us too. I feel like we're back to University of Kentucky instead of University of Perry. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I appreciate David. Man, Mr. Huber, I can't think it. Why can't I think? Jason caught me on Round the Shot, sent me a very nice message about that. So I appreciate people listening. Look, so I touched on this, and this is my soapbox. Good evening, Mr. Sutter. We appreciate you listening.
I'm just scrolling the comments because we got backlog a little bit, but do your thing, man. Do your thing. Brad Harvey and John
College Sportscast. So, look, man, I get it. The breakup was necessary, right? Everyone agrees it was time for Cal to go. What I don't like is this reconfiguring the past, right? Like a lot of people like, oh, I knew in 2015 that Cal was. No, man, like I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And so a lot of people are like, oh, we've got our program back. As if Cal came in, snuck into Rupp Arena, put them banners up against our will. When we were, and I say we as the BBN, look, I've said this before. I'll say it again on here. I think it was 08, 09, whenever Tyler Hansbrough was at North Carolina. I think it was 09 maybe. Mm-hmm. That season. It was Kentucky at North Carolina. Game day was there. And I'm watching game day. And they're talking about North Carolina and trying to get to a championship, blah, blah, blah. And they said, well, somebody, maybe it was Reese Davis, whoever was like, well, what about Kentucky? And they all chuckled. The people chuckled because Kentucky didn't matter.
Yeah.
Kentucky we weren't terrible at that point, but national championship conversation, we didn't matter. Cal came along at the right time. I get it, Kentucky fans. I do. I know we've had 5 coaches win championships. We have been good since the 1940s. look, you don't need to quote chapter and verse to me. What I'm saying is someone who did not grow up a Kentucky fan, Kentucky basketball was good, but it wasn't cool. I get it. You grow up in it, you think it's cool, but there was no Doctors of Dunk. There was no Phi Slamma Jamma, right? There's no Tark the Shark. There's no John Thompson and his towel with Hoya Paranoia. There's no Lou Carnesecca and his sweaters. There's no Fab Five, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky basketball's thing is like, look, we have a lot of very good players, and we're probably going to beat your team. But it wasn't cool. Cal made it cool. To the outside, Kentucky started mattering. It mattered when John Wall did the John Wall dance, and it became a damn thing. It mattered. Right? My whole point is we don't have to look back on the last 15 years and lie to ourselves. It didn't end like anybody thought it was going to end, but we did not sell our soul to John Calipari for 15 years. I refuse to believe it. And somehow that the banners he put up, it didn't feel great because he didn't understand Kentucky. Really? He didn't understand Kentucky? I said this on Round of Shots. What part didn't he understand? When the tornadoes hit Western Kentucky and he raised money to help those people? When the flooding hit Eastern Kentucky, the mountains where you're from, and they've had the blue and white game in Eastern Kentucky last year, he didn't understand Kentucky? Is that what your people are saying to me? He didn't get it? We don't have to lie. And look, Mark Pope hit all the right notes. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to be about. That's fantastic. But now I see people saying Cal's way didn't work. So my mother's an English teacher. So for me, words are very important. And there's a fundamental difference between didn't work and stopped working. There's a difference.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'm the only person that enjoyed that John Wall season and Kentucky being back. Maybe I'm the only one. Maybe I'm the only one that enjoyed Brandon Knight's shot in Aaron Kraft's eye in 2011 because he was only there 1 year. Right? Maybe I'm the only one that enjoyed Anthony Davis. That's cool if I am. Maybe I'm the only person that enjoyed Aaron Harrison shots in 20 shots, plural, in 2014. Maybe I'm the only person that found a little bit of joy through the most of that season when they were 38-1. Maybe I am. But I don't see it like we sold our soul and we stopped being who we were. No, Kentucky's always been about we will be the best, whatever that means. Right? So we don't have to lie about the last 15 years. And of course, everybody's like, we got to talk about the last 3. I am, but I'm also talking about all 15 of them aren't bad. Look, Vinny, I was married to my first wife for 12 years. I have never, ever, to her, to anybody else, claimed that all 12 years are bad. That's not true. There were good times. We don't have to lie about this. We don't have to do it. Well, we don't need a whole bunch of 5 stars. You weren't saying that when we were 38-0. We don't need a bunch of burger boys. You weren't saying that when the Brow and MKG was leading us to the championship. You wasn't talking about McDonald's All-Americans then.
Mm-hmm.
But now all of a sudden, that's bad, right? Like Cal just put those banners up against our will. Like he kidnapped. That's not what happened. I was here. We don't have to lie about this. We just don't. You can say it ran its course as coaching things do, right? Coaches retire, whatever it is. Every great coach, sometimes you got to make that exit. We don't have to lie about that. That's all I'm saying.
The whole flipping the 180 after he's gone, that.
Well, and that's the thing. What you do after a divorce or a breakup, you get somebody that's the opposite who you was with. Look, I divorced my first wife. I dated a girl that was significantly younger because that's what you do when you get that's what you do. I get it. And the new person is just all the things the other person didn't. This person gets me differently. Okay, cool. Like, what are we doing? We don't have to do that, is my entire point. Look, I'm not out here. I know people say I pump sunshine for Coach Cal, but I'm not letting y'all say that man put banners up in Rupp Arena against our will. And now you're going to sit here and be like, I didn't enjoy it. That's not true, because at least for social media, I know what happened when we won in 2012. I know what happened during 2015, the first 38 games. Like, I know what happened. We don't have to do this.
Like the last three defined the whole thing.
Well, we don't need all these top five. We don't need these top five or these 5-star recruits, these McDonald's All-American. Ain't a coach in this damn country that would tell Anthony Davis, I don't want you here. Not a coach. Not a coach. Even last year would tell Rob Dillingham, I don't want you. I'm trying to do something different. And my only thing is, I love the Mark Pope hire. I love Sunday. I loved it. But we have to recognize we're kind of coming around to being like how North Carolina is, where only a North Carolina guy can coach North Carolina. And it looks like that's Duke's get down. There's only a Duke guy can coach Duke. And like Michigan football, only Michigan football guy. That's not what's made us great. I get it. We love ties to Kentucky. I get it. It's special when someone born in Kentucky and plays at Kentucky. That's not why Kentucky basketball is good. That's not why we win championships. We win championships because we have the best players from coast to coast. And so I understand you're born and raised in it. It's different. I am not going to tell Jamal Mashburn he doesn't get Kentucky basketball. I'm not going to tell Dan Issel he doesn't get Kentucky basketball. I'm not going to tell Chuck Hayes he doesn't get Kentucky basketball because he wasn't born here. That's unfair. Mm-hmm. So I love what's going on, but I don't want to become that. I don't want to become this where only Kentucky people can get it, because that's not true.
Yeah,
and one last thing, but I have to believe that you don't have to be born and raised to be a diehard Kentucky fan, because I share all the time. I was born and raised a Louisville fan. Up until my senior year of high school. I've been very upfront about that. So I get it. Your mamaw and your papaw took you to games. You listen to games on the radio. There has to be a space for people like me that can learn about Kentucky. Embrace us.
Yeah.
There's got to be a space for people that can come in from the outside and learn it.
Because where was Purvis Ellison from? So on that Louisville note, he's not from Kentucky.
No, he's not from Kentucky. No.
I mean, they got
it weirdly enough. You got Jack Givens in '78 for Kentucky and Darrell Griffith in '80 with Louisville, but otherwise, you got to go out of state. Kentucky high school basketball is fantastic, but does not produce enough Division I talent to fund both Louisville and Kentucky. You got to go outside. That's what makes Kentucky special, is bringing people from the outside in and then teach them what it's about. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are upset because we're making a divide line between Cal's players, right? People, they only came for Cal. Man, athletes been going for the coaches since forever. That's not new. The big mistake will be lying about what Cal did and keeping his players on the outside. I said it to someone on Twitter. I'll say it here. if folks like me and you, Vinny, can understand and celebrate those Kentucky championships that came during segregation when they would not recruit people like me and you, y'all can open your arms up to the guys that played under Cal.
Yeah.
If you're going to ask me to celebrate all 8 championships and 4 of them were when Negroes couldn't play, y'all can accept Cal's guys. They're all part of the legacy. Everybody that put on a Kentucky jersey is part of it, whether you like them or not.
So is it? Are trying to just cut them away since Cal's leaving, or because of Boogie's comments about what Arkansas is going to be on TV and Arkansas is going to be the hot spot, and it will, but.
And he was inarticulate with it.
And he only knows
but that's his coach.
Kentucky. Yeah. And he doesn't know Kentucky pre-Cal. It's still he doesn't and the whole comment didn't get played. He did say, I'm gonna bleed blue, we this, Kentucky that. I'm always gonna be University of Kentucky. That everybody acting like he didn't even say any of that after he said what got all the attention. So he said what he said and then said, look, I'm going to bleed blue. It don't matter what. I just know right now Arkansas going to be this and it's going to be that. And, so I don't know. But a big deal was made out of that shouldn't have been. And everybody wanted to say he ain't part of the family and cut him off.
Hey, man, like you've got to open your arms up to all these guys.
And this stuff happens. There was some of the little 90s guys that wasn't as tight with Cal. DA used to pop off and say little stuff here and there. Everybody just knew Reed wasn't going to come because they thought there was stuff with Reed and Cal. So there's little bumps and bruises, but all in all, everything's all right. And the Cal guys that are out on it are probably for the most part going to come around. Like it just happened. And like you said, it's their coach.
And this is what it came up on Round of Shots, and I've seen this on Twitter and stuff. Like the guys that played for Pitino, like Coach Pope, they still rock with Pitino.
No doubt.
As much as they're Kentucky guys, you rock with the coach that gave you an opportunity. Like that's not a Cal thing. That's just a everybody thing.
The 96 team was in Rupp when Walter McCarty and Evansville beat Kentucky, rooting for Walter because that guy. Yeah.
And so, look, I all I wish was, look, I'm all board with Mark Pope. I am. I'm, the same way I would have been if Cal was the coach next year. What choice do I have except be mad all season? No, I ain't. That's not how I live. But you can't just sit here and be like, well, like you don't put up 4 banners in Rupp on accident. And now I didn't really enjoy it because it that's what's killing me is people acting like Cal was some carpetbagger that came in and forced us to take him in. And so his banners don't count.
Right.
I need people to look me in my face and tell me when Aaron Harrison hit that shot against Wisconsin, when Jim Nance said, this is the spot where he always hits it. They don't put no butterflies in your belly? None? Because Cal didn't get it? Really? Like, not at all? All I got to say is, pardon my language, but you a damn lie. I don't believe it. I don't believe people telling me I knew in 2014 that this was going to end badly. No, you didn't. No, the hell you did not. I don't believe you.
And for me, maybe even for us, I think that's what kind of, look, real quick, like when me and my sister would get in trouble or would get, fool around and do what we wasn't supposed to do or whatever, get in trouble with mom and basically be given too much rope and then hang ourselves with it. When Deb Hardy said, all right, I've been too lenient with y'all, then that's when I knew, oh Lord, I done messed up, and I should have done what I was supposed to do, and all that. I think some of us were kind of lenient with Cal when it did slip, because we saw the first half. Oh yeah, he'll get it back. He'll get it back. Oh, he'll be back. I think that bought him a lot of goodwill because it was so high. And then, we lost to Kansas State when you all went from Boise down to Atlanta. We went out early again. And so I think that allowed us to be a little more lenient. Some been frustrated from the jump, but I was on the camp. Oh yeah, we'll shake that off. We'll be back.
But go year by year. Let's talk this out, right? 38-1. That seems to be the dividing line, because for a lot of folks, my team didn't go undefeated, so I stopped caring. For some folks, that's a logical thought, which it simply isn't. Because as a 49ers fan, I just watched them lose a Super Bowl by giving up a touchdown with 3 seconds left in overtime. I'm still a fan. Like, what are we doing, right?
And that Wisconsin didn't break me because I done already lived through the lightning shot. So, I mean,
right.
I was,
So, but 2016, okay, you knew at some point there was going to be a downturn. 4 Final Fours in 5 years, only been done 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So you knew there was going to be a downturn. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
2017 is a last-second shot away from a Final Four.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, it's 2017. 2018.
Kevin Knox and them.
That team, I felt early on, was a Sweet 16 team. Now, we can go back and we can look at the other teams that were there. Yes, it kind of it was wide open, but I felt that team was a Sweet 16 team, right? Yes, you look at who made it to the Final Four and all that kind of stuff, Sister Jean and Loyola, that's frustrating, right? Yes. 2018. 2019, okay, an overtime away from the Final Four. Not the end of the world. 2020, that team wins the SEC by 3 games, and then COVID hits. To me, the divide line is COVID. That, to me, is when it was like, okay, because I see people, again, 2018 and 27, like, we gave Cal some rope, but he'd just gone to 4 Final Fours. It's not like you gave him like a rope because he didn't go to the Final Four in 2 or 3. Like, what do we, So if you go year by year, the 2020, okay, that sucked. 2021, 9-16, that's terrible. For me, it was 2022.
Okay.
That's when I was like, I don't know. Because we had the pieces, we had the first unanimous player of the year in school history, and I didn't feel comfortable at all against St. Peter's.
Right. But all that other stuff is what allowed that leniency, is what I'm saying. For those that saying that I was doing this and that and the other, for us, all the other stuff, it didn't cause us to be until the last 2 or 3 years, because it was, then it was like, okay, well, I don't know if we are be able to get it back now. But I wasn't saying that in 2018.
Right. That's my point is, right. So 2021, you can like, okay, but you can't have those two back to back. You can't have 9-16 and then lose to a 15 seed, because now the pressure's anteed up, right? Now we're going to get this done. And then the next year, that team was just, it didn't fit. Severe caught hell. And it just, my memory of that season was South Carolina coming in and punking the crap out of us in Rupp Arena. Well, that's not great. That's not what we signed up for. And so all the talk was, we're pushing toward the 2024 season, right? We got DJ Wagner coming. Reed had signed, right? And we start filling things in. We knew that Reeves was finally going to come back. And this was the year that it's like, we have been building to this. If we could have made a run this year, okay, Cal can get that mojo back. And I don't feel bad because as the season ended, I felt good.
Cal's last win as Kentucky's coach was in Knoxville.
Right. That's a trivia question. So I felt good. But then, even against Texas A&M, like, okay, that's not great, but we can beat a 14 seed.
Right. That talk trash all week. Glad they get to play us. And then
and so for me, I don't believe the past, like, Kentucky, we were beating everybody 30 points. I don't believe that. But I want a team that gets a little bit of respect. That's all I want. And that's not what happened against Oakland. And yay, verily came to pass. We didn't have nothing for it.
Yeah, they said what they said and then went out and did what they did.
I pump as much sunshine as anybody. During that Oakland game, I'm like, this is how it ends. It looked like Reed and Rob were tentative. And there was a play that I remember. Dilly's got he's got a big man on him. And I'm like, oh, he's gonna cook. He did a little something and passed it back to Reeves. And it's like, and they were going to a timeout, coming out of a timeout, and I just see Antonio Reeves look around like, I guess I gotta do this myself. Like our whole thing was Reeves gonna get you 20. Mm-hmm. Somebody else will, you'll get somebody else, and nobody ever did. And so my whole thought process was, for a lot of those tournament losses, particularly later in the run, shooters didn't shoot and guys looked tentative. That's a coaching thing. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, that's just a coaching. That's coaching. You have to keep in mind against Ohio State, way back in 2011 with Brandon Knight, I think he only hit one other shot the whole game, but he wasn't tentative.
Nope.
Right?
Afraid of the moment.
Aaron Harrison, not tentative. Right? Mm-hmm. Of course, AD, and even the loss to North Carolina in 2017. Hey, Malik Monk hit a hell of a shot to tie that game. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest, right? Mm-hmm. But the last few years, and we've talked about it on here, Cal did a good job of keeping the pressure on him. There's always pressure with the Kentucky job. But it just felt like the last couple of seasons, he let the pressure get to the players. And that's what we saw against Oakland. Mm-hmm. And that was my thing, was like, he can't come back.
Yeah. Because the weight, more pressure.
The weight's even going to get even more. Right? That's what I was talking about, that Pope understood that 96 team had to win. You think about how things go sideways if that 96 team lost. And that was a year that we had been gunning for 18 years.
No.
So Cal couldn't come back. Mm-hmm. But I'm excited. Pope is here. I think he's going to get buy-in from the fans, buy-in from the administration. The NIL boosters are doing their thing. So he's going to have every opportunity to succeed. And I hope he does. That's going to be good for everybody. Mm-hmm. Now, what that looks like in year one, that's anybody's guess, right? We don't know. Mm-hmm. We only got one dude coming back right now. I think we got one confirmed person. Perry is the only confirmed guy coming.
Some guy from BYU off a Mormon mission or something, I think. It's like we got two now.
Oh, yeah. So we got 2 or 3 guys. We'll figure it out. But look, this first year, but the thing is, this is no surprise. We knew this is what's going to happen whenever Cal left.
Absolutely.
The cupboard was going to be bare. We knew that going in. Mm-hmm. And that's the trade-off that you make. It's not selling your soul, but that's just how it operates, right? He's not going to.
We send the other side of the coin. We saw Wall and Cousins follow Cal here. Memphis saw them not be Tigers.
Right.
And now we're seeing, dudes that were in Kentucky go, we got both sides of the coin now. And it's that's how it is.
We knew he wasn't going to leave like a Patino left with the ingredients to win a championship.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not taken away from Tubby, but Rick left the ingredients and Tubby chefed them up to win a championship. That we knew going in that's not how Cal left things. But we're gonna be all right. We're gonna be all right. I just want us to be honest. That's all.
Mm-hmm. So real quick, congratulations to Kentucky baseball for coming to the Ville and handling business, putting 17 runs up on the cards yesterday. Football score 17-13, but Kentucky was just hitting the ball all over the place.
Baseball's doing it, man. Congrats to SEC to the men's tennis team winning the SEC championship, beating those Vols. Look, this whole process. Look, people make me out to be a Mitch Barnhart apologist, and I'm not. I'm just a guy. But y'all out here talking about Mitch don't know what he's doing. Somebody tell me like the rest of the teams ain't winning nothing. I'm like, obviously you don't pay attention to anything.
Mm-hmm. Got Tennessee coming in from baseball too, so let's
that's a big week. Like, talk about all the people that he hired. I was like, it's really convenient to not mention Coach Skinner. I know volleyball don't count, but they won a national championship in it, so I get that.
Mm-hmm.
And come these Olympics,
you're right. Mm-hmm.
In a couple of months, we're going to have track stars. Remember the World Championships. 2 Kentucky Wildcats on the women's 4x400. So there's investment there across the board. But see, Josh Allen got paid.
Yes, he did. Yeah,
Hey.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Now, I can't not mention the other story too. The Katie Strang story from the Athletic with Lars Jorgensen, the swimming coach. Just heinous allegations.
There's got to be
simplicity.
Yeah.
To him to be able to have that power and keep treating people the way he was doing and threatening them and just doing whatever he wanted to do to these women over and over and over for extended years.
That's like I support Mitch, but depending on what comes out with what he knew when, if he got to go, he got to go, man. Because we don't need to become like the Michigan State and the Penn State. People got to go.
Yeah, and the dude that coached Syracuse women has now resurfaced. I think he's on the Ole Miss's staff, and there's a lot of like what is going on with that, and because why did he resign from Syracuse? We know what was going on up there. Now he's getting a chance to resurface, and here we got this going on with swimming, and that's just the fact that it just continued to happen for so long.
Yeah,
in that story,
it's not promising what I've seen.
Yeah,
what I've seen is not promising. But if people got to go, they got to go, man. Like I am not gonna stand here and be like, look, if UK is wrong, then they wrong.
Yeah, and we can't come on here and talk about the Mark Pope hire and the baseball team whooping Louisville and the tennis team whooping Tennessee and act like the swimming ain't over here acting a fool right now because they are.
Absolutely. And so my whole thing is, as we work through that process, if people got to go, they got to go.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever we got to do to make these victims whole.
And all those ladies that went through what they went through, and it ain't. Everybody likes to say, everybody that has daughters saying, I have daughters. It don't matter if I don't have daughters. It's still wrong is wrong.
Look, man, I would be a terrible human being if it took me to have daughters to understand the plight of women.
Yeah.
That makes you sound like a terrible person.
Yeah, for the people that preface that, well, blah, 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 and this is terrible. And because I have daughters. No,
it's terrible, man. It is absolutely terrible.
Mm-hmm. So we had to at least talk about that in addition to everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. There's bad stuff coming out of Lexington. That does not fill my heart with joy. A lot of stuff going on, good and bad, but that's not great. It's not great. It's bad. It's terrible.
It sure is. So appreciate everybody that put the comments up in here. College Sportscast guys, Brad Harvey, John Hammonds, Daniel Haddix, Ben Sutter, David Hibbert. You guys talking about the baptisms all the time in the basketball games in here. So appreciate that. Appreciate Chris Beasmore and Kendrick Haskins and TB Man. I always appreciate you. We do this every week. We always enjoy it. And be back a week from now. We'll see how many more new players we got and see what's going on.
That's right.
See what's going on with the Lakers and Nuggets this time next week. Y'all might have 4 or 5 more games left in y'all season, and then we'll see what.
Probably we can. Look, man, can't nobody do nothing with. Let me get one game and see how it goes. Just one and we'll go.
And by the way, Purvis Ellison is from Savannah, Georgia, went to high school at Savannah High School. So yeah, that just
okay. I knew he wasn't from over there.
People from out of state playing a big role in, the teams we've come to know and love. So yeah, it ain't all in-state kids doing all that. It's
absolutely. Yeah.
But man, we'll put a bow on this one. Appreciate everybody watching, and look, it'll be on Spotify if you want to listen. It'll be on YouTube. It's here on Twitter, live stream. Appreciate Ben Sutter at the Biz3 Network for letting us hop on here and do what we do. And we're going to hop on out of here. Have a good evening, you and Kate and Sammy and everybody.
Let's go.
Be back next week for another episode of Cast Talk Wednesday, y'all.